Pools like these at the Aquatic Conservation Facility are used to grow up the silvery minnow. As they reach maturity, they'll be used to either breed or to be released back into the Rio Grande. But there are about 50,000 fish right here. And as they continue to mature, these are the future of the silvery minnow in the Rio Grande. The Rio Grande is as ancient as it is beautiful. The river system we know today took at least 800,000 years to form. And as it did, life started flourishing along its nourishing banks, creating a new ecosystem. Beneath the water's surface, an unassuming little fish, only 3 inches long, began to evolve and reproduce.
It used to be one of the most numerous fish throughout the Rio Grande and Pecos River.
The tiny Rio Grande silvery minnow became a big piece of the biological puzzle, keeping water clean by eating toxic algae along more than 1,800 miles of river, from the headwaters in Colorado to the Gulf of Mexico and Texas. But as humans settled in New Mexico, the Rio Grande began to change. Irrigation, dams, and towns altered the natural flow, and so the silvery minnow began to decline in numbers, to the point it was listed as endangered in 1994. Today, its numbers have dropped further, only found in 5% of its original habitat.
This is as close as we can get to a natural environment for the silvery minnows.
Kathy Lang is a curator of the Albuquerque Aquatic Conservation Facility, where silvery minnow are hatched and fostered until maturity. Lang says efforts to save the silvery minnow aren't just about saving a fish, it's about saving an entire ecosystem.
The silvery minnow eats algae, so maybe in some areas there might be an algae bloom that could prove to be toxic to somebody else.
In addition to keeping algae levels under control, it's also food for larger species in the bosque. Lang says removing that link in the chain could disrupt an entire system.
And if it was gone, a lot of folks wouldn't notice, but maybe in a couple years you notice there's no migratory birds, or there's not as many native plants and not as many insects, because the river's starting to dry up and we didn't take care of it.
Lang admits the effort suffers a perception problem on the surface.
What are some of the criticisms you hear about silvery minnow conservation?
Who cares? It's just one little fish. I get that a lot.
Lang says it's a race against the clock of extinction. Every year, her team harvests free-floating silvery minnow eggs in the Rio Grande, a painstaking process similar to panning for gold.
Delicately take this little egg off of the screen. Typically, we do it with a spoon, and you count every one that you collect. And we'll do 40,000 in the fall and 20,000 in the spring.
How do you count them?
One at a time. We have those little clicker counters, and each one gets marked.
Once mature, those silvery minnows are released into the Rio Grande in hopes they thrive. As you're just walking around this facility, you can look down and instantly see silvery minnow just swimming around everywhere. And the experts who work here say when you look at them, you're looking at the future of the Rio Grande. Even though the tiny fish isn't on top of mind for most, some recognize the importance.
I like looking at the ducks and the river.
Nico McDonald, all of 11 years old, already has conservation on his mind.
And this is their habitat, and we gotta keep it clean so they don't die.
What did we get versus what did we do?
Other nature lovers like Jason Trambley want hard proof that saving the silvery minnow is indeed the right thing to do.
I'd like to see maybe some really simple hard evidence that says here's what we've done and here's how it benefits the local population of minnows.
Lang and her team say it's not just the silvery minnow at stake.
Humans are part of the ecosystem too. So obviously we've had an impact on the ecosystem, but the ecosystem is going to have an impact on us. Any little piece of an ecosystem could be a key piece. You don't know until it's gone, and you don't want to find out that way.
For this 4 Investigates team report, I'm meteorologist Eddie Garcia, KOB4.